Welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers.
We're your hosts, Mary Ann
and Ching-en.
Please join us as we explore the journeys amazing people take in pursuit of their dreams.
And get insights from their experiences.
Let's hit the road
and get started.
Hey everyone, I'm super excited to chat with today's guest, fellow Filipino, Rhea Leorag, who works as a music marketer in the Asia-Pacific region. She's taking an international master's degree in cultural and creative industries at the Taipei National University of the Arts.
Welcome to the show, Rhea, and please say hi to our audience.
Hi everyone. Nice to meet you guys virtually.
I found it really interesting that you originally majored in management engineering, which is not related to music at all. Yet I know that the work that you do is very much tied to your interest in music bands. Could you share how you got started with the career and also tell us a bit more details about what's involved in this work?
Right. So there's a long and short version of that story. The medium version is that while I was studying management engineering in the Philippines, I already got involved in the independent music community during uni. I found that I really liked watching these shows around campus, watching like alternative rock band, singer-songwriter. In the process, I ended up meeting people in the music business, both independent and mainstream. And I also found myself hosting or producing my own shows through university orgs or through my own efforts. I remember when we were in uni, there was a huge typhoon that struck parts of Metro Manila. It was called Yolanda. And at that point, I felt so hopeless and I didn't know what I could do. I've posted on Facebook and said, like, is anyone doing like a fundraising and can I help? And then my friends just said, just start your own. We'll help you. Like my musician friend said, okay, we'll perform if you produce it, like if you pull your resources to do it. And so that was the very first show that I ever worked on. I looked for musicians that could play, and one of the musicians said, okay, I have this venue on that day. You can have it if you want. It was Route 196. It was a bar around the university. And it just all came together. I found friends who worked on the posters, who helped me promote. We got on the media for that also. It was sort of a mini version of the work that I ended up doing. And that felt very fulfilling to me. We were able to raise money for the typhoon survivors. And since then, I also started doing other shows. And so after uni, some twists and turns in life because I didn't immediately end up in music. But I think 3 years after uni, I worked with a local record label, then TikTok Philippines, where most of my work was in entertainment and music. The focus was on entertainment and music. And then now I work with a global music company, which is 1RPM. And as for what it entails, to me, essentially, it's all about letting people know about your artist's music, the artists that I'm working with. So it's helping their stories reach more potential listeners and fans and people who might relate to what they have to say or lives that they may actually touch. The nitty-gritty of it can be different for each artist. So sometimes I do social media strategies where I outline how their profile should look or how their content should look. Sometimes we do PR where we promote them to media. We also try to book them for shows, and we also pitch them to platform partners like Spotify and YouTube so their music can be featured and advertised better to markets that make sense.
Can you define for us what you call independent music or mainstream music?
Okay. This may be like different for most people, but to me, and within an industry perspective, essentially, independent is when you're not working with any major label. Major labels, the biggest ones are your Universal Music, Sony, and Warner, where they pour in money for your music. And independent is you're working on your own with, a few partners here and there. So our company right now, we are mainly a music distribution platform. We provide the platform where you can put your music and then we distribute it to Spotify, YouTube, etc. And the marketing side of it is sort of an additional service that we provide to these independent artists. So we don't own their music, they own their music. I guess is one main difference also, because when you work with a label, most of the time they own the music that you create.
I see. Technically, you've been working as a music marketer even when you were studying in university, because you were already working with some bands, as you mentioned. So How long have you been working as a music marketer, would you say?
From the first show, it was since 2013. So I was actually aware that it's been 10 years last year.
Congrats.
But thanks. But officially since 2018, like the very first affiliation that's not an internship was in 2018.
Okay. And since you've been working in the Philippines and also here as a music marketer, well, actually, how did you end up from the Philippines, from working with bands in Manila to here in Taiwan?
I think working in music, especially, I grew up with that phenomena of, I feel like culture becoming more global because of the internet. So we just sort of more and more became exposed to music and culture from other countries, essentially. The last official job that I had in the Philippines was with Yellow Room. I was working with bands like Mayonnaise and Mojo Fly. If you're Filipino, you probably know those bands. And back then, I was helping Mayonnaise do shows with like YouTube Southeast Asia, and also NAM, which is a global conference, and we would interact, or they would play with bands from South Korea, the States also. A lot of it we did during the pandemic, so it was all online. But I think through the work that I did in the Philippines with Yellow Room and also TikTok, I got exposed to how fun it could be to work globally, and to really get to know more of other cultures, and that was very interesting for me. I also started getting into K-pop in 2020. And so I was like, there's really more out there to learn and more people to meet, more people to work with. And so 2021, I think, I decided that I want to go more global. And with culture being such a, I would say, insular industry in a way, like if you want to work with another culture, you kind of have to get to know more. I decided that the best way to do it was to study. So I looked for a master's degree that made sense, and looking for a creative and cultural industries related master's that's in English led me to Taipei National University of the Arts.
So you've been in Taiwan for about 2 years?
Almost 2 years, yes.
Okay. And how do you find Taiwan's music scene? And do you have a favorite band, either in Taiwan or in the Philippines?
I do have a favorite Taiwanese band, and to me this is a cute story. In 2018, I was in Manila. I was working with a production, and it was a music festival. And I remember it was a 2-day music festival, and on the second day, we were all very tired. And I was backstage just resting with a friend, and then we heard this music coming from somewhere, and I was like, this music is really good. And so I have to see who's playing, and I went all the way up to the stage. And it was this band called Elephant Gym. I didn't know them at all before that. I was just so enthralled with how they sounded and how they looked on stage. And then afterwards, we got to talk to them backstage. They were the sweetest people. I found out they're from Kaohsiung, Taiwan. At that time, I didn't really have an idea that I would ever get to Taiwan. But then after that, I was like, I love them, and because of them, I started looking at, other Taiwanese musicians, because, hey, there's this good music that's coming from this culture that I didn't even think of. And then eventually, when I was here already, I watched a lot of their shows. I went to maybe like 10 of their shows in the past 2 years. But other bands that I ended up liking, of course, Sunset Roller Coaster is a big one for Southeast Asia these days. I'm very excited for the album that they're releasing next month, I think, with Hyuko. So how I decided I would explore Taiwan's music when I got here was I would go to as much shows as I can. I followed all the main venues like Your Legacy, Corner Max, The Wall, Witch House, which is one of my favorites, and I would just see like who's playing because I didn't really have any knowledge before aside from Elephant Gym. And some of my favorites right now, Mongtong is very interesting. They play funky music blindfolded. They have this very interesting vibe. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really fun.
The whole time?
Yes.
Okay. That sounds very intriguing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think observations about the scene. in combination with what I've been learning in school, I guess, I observed that Taiwan has been making an effort to grow the independent scene the past few years. And you can see it also with Golden Melody Awards. Like, there's really focus on these independent artists. They're given funding to tour around the world even. Elton John just went on a tour. It may not be for me to say, but just based on my observation, there's sort of a move away from Mando pop in a sense. Like, it's still there, but there's more focus on promoting Taiwanese music outside of the Sinosphere, especially to Southeast Asia with the new Southbound movement, I believe is what it's called.
Yes.
So a lot of experimental artists, a lot of English musicians, also a lot of Hakka musicians or like indigenous language musicians are getting attention these days. I forgot her name, Maka, or the winner, Makav, I think, the winner of the New Artist Award in GMA, recently caught my eye because she's so good and she's so cool. So she initially reminded me of Abao. Yes. But like as I watched more of her videos, she has her own sound and her own vibe, which I've been really liking. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Actually, you did.
Yeah.
You shared your observations about the music industry here in Taiwan. I'm curious, now that you have a wider perspective, what are your observations about the music industry in the Philippines? Would you like to expound a little bit on this?
No, I think the main difference that I've seen, the main thing that I talk about when I get asked this question is just that funding is present in Taiwan. That, you know, artists, if there's an album that they want to produce, or if there's a tour, or if there's a showcase in other countries that they want their band to be part of, they could apply for a grant. And that's something we never had. I don't know if we have it now. I don't think so. But the thing about the music industry in the Philippines is it's very private. It's the effort has to come from either the labels or the artists themselves. The artists have to work the live shows to get money for their albums, for their craft. And in a sense, yeah.
I think it also relies a lot on connections. Well, to a certain degree, maybe that would also apply here in Taiwan.
It's true. I think music industry essentially relies very heavily on connections. And that's why I'm very thankful that in Taiwan, I get to go to these showcases and conferences like Luckfest, like GMA, where they bring in the music industry professionals from across the globe, actually. So we're able to meet each other, and the artists are able to meet us, and we're able to figure out how best we could work together. And that was something that wasn't really present in the Philippines. There was one in 2020, I believe. It's called Sonic Philippines. I know the people who put it up, very thankful for them. But then we didn't have it again since 2020.
Well, the pandemic happened.
Yes. I think it was 2018. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And then the pandemic happened. That's true. But also, I think funding may be an issue.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Thanks for joining us today in our chat with Miss Rhea Leorag as she shared how she got started as a music marketer. Chingan, I feel that we always don't have enough time to go through these incredible stories.
Which is why starting in August, Formosa Dream Chasers will now be extended from 15 to 20 minutes, and our show will also air on Fridays instead. So please continue to support us and stay tuned for more inspiring life stories of outstanding individuals as they work hard to pursue their dreams. Again, this is Ching-en.
And Mary Ann. See you guys next Sunday. Bye.
Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, SoundOn Podcast, Spotify, you name it, we're on it. You can find selected shows produced by RTI's English team on different streaming services. All you have to do is search for the show or type RTI. Find an episode you find interesting, hit play, and you'll learn more about Taiwan and its people.